So when I first heard about this, I paid basically no attention to it whatsoever, because I can't even remember the last time I've seen a worthwhile adaptation of an old fairy tale. But then I realized it was made by Perkins, who made The Blackcoat's Daughter, which I loved. So that definitely had me intrigued, and I figured it was probably worth checking out. And well, as you might expect, this is based on the old story by the Brothers Grimm, which I'm sure every one of you out there is already familiar with. But in case you're not, this one is essentially about a brother and a sister who end up alone out in the woods, where they run into a witch who wants to, well, spoiler alert for a centuries old story I guess, but she wants to fatten them up and eat them. And this one more or less follows the same basic premise as well, with a few new elements thrown into the mix, and the first thing I noticed was that it's a very stylish movie. It's beautifully shot and visually it's enjoyable to watch, so there's no complaints there. I also really enjoyed the performances here, especially Sophia Lillis, who plays Gretel. And Gretel really is the main focus of the story here, and she did a good job with it. However, Alice Craigie as the witch more or less stole the show here. She was absolutely phenomenal. It was a very subtle performance, but very effective, and I pretty much loved every moment she was on screen. Which I guess brings me to the tone, because the witch was genuinely creepy. And as a whole, this thing definitely leans more toward a grim and dark tone than anything else. But at the same time, it doesn't really overdo it or fully dive into horror territory either. I mean, I guess you could call it horror, not really sure what else you would call it. But it's actually a bit more psychological, with an emphasis on suspense rather than jump scares. And I like the tone and the overall feel of the movie. I had no issues with that. But the problem really is that at the end of the day, while it is an interesting adaptation, it's still very much that same old story, just with a fresh coat of paint. And the paint is a pretty color and it's pleasant to look at, but it still doesn't really switch it up enough to keep it interesting. And as a result, I didn't really find this to be that intriguing or engaging as a whole. It's not bad and it has some redeeming qualities, so like the visuals and the performance of the witch. But at the end of the day, it failed to really impress me, and I'm not sure what else to say about it. It's a decent adaptation, but I feel like I would have much rather seen something more original. And that's about it, so would I recommend it? Not really, but it's not terrible. So maybe give it a look, maybe don't. After all, I'm not your dad. But hey, what are your thoughts on this? Have you seen it? Did you like it? Let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, maybe give it a thumbs up or sub to the channel, because that would be fantastic. And if you'd like, you can also support me on Patreon or PayPal through the links in the description. And as always, I appreciate you and thanks for watching.